This is a quick tutorial on how to make a bar graph with error bars and change all of the things that you need to change in order to have it meet the requirements for a graph for the ecology class. First thing you want to do is make sure that you have your data organized. So I've got my populations here, whatever they are. Can be whatever you want in terms of the name for this, as well as the labels. So this is just the labels for whatever you are collecting your data for. Next, I've already calculated my mean. So I've got my means for each of these. And then I have my measure of dispersion that I'm going to use for making my error bars. Over here, in my case, I've got a standard error. I like having them organized as columns. It's easy to work with. Next thing you're going to do is insert your graph. You can start out by highlighting the main data, the data that you want to have as the bars of your graph. So I've got that highlighted, and I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to select up here where it's a column chart, and I'm going to go with a standard 2D column chart, keeping it simple. Right off the bat, you'll notice that it has filled in my mean for me as my title. I don't want a chart title. We don't have chart titles in scientific figures. So I've got my basic here. It's got my bars in it. I need to add my error bars. Depending on your version of Excel, where you find that ability to add those is going to be different depending on that version. So in my case, I've got over here, it says add chart element. And if I click on that, down here you can see I've got error bars. I also happen to have it over here as that little plus, so add chart elements, and I'm going to go down here to error bars. I've got a little extender here. I'm going to click on that, and what I want is more options. So regardless of which version you have, you're always going to want to go for more options. If I click standard error, it's going to calculate the standard error of all of my means and give me the same exact error for each one of my bars. That's not what I want. So under More Options, I'm going to click Custom. Then Specify Value. It's going to give me an input where I'm going to add a range. So my standard error, I'm not going to use my title for this. I'm only going to select my data values. So that's my positive standard error. Now, your standard error is always plus or minus, so I have to make sure to enter that same range for my negative error, and hit OK. Now you can see that I have error bars. They're all a different size, and that's because each of my standard errors for my different populations was a different value. Let's say you don't want to have an error bar on one of these. You can get rid of the error bar by selecting that data value and deleting it. Error bar gone. Okay, so we've got our bars here. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here, and that's not what we want. We have names or labels for our population, and that's what we want to have down here. So what I'm going to do is go up to click on my graph, and I'm going to go up to Design and select Data. What I'm going to do is edit my horizontal axis labels. So I'm going to hit Edit. It's going to give me a range, and I'm going to select my values. Those are the ones that I want in there, and hit OK. And you'll notice I now have my values. So just so you know, if you click anywhere on your graph, it takes it away from the graph editing. If I click on the figure or the graph again, then it takes me up to my chart tools, which is where I do my editing. Okay, so I've got values here. Next thing I might want to do, that I'm going to need to do, is add in my axis labels. Again, there are two different places where you could find that depending on which version you've got. In my case, I have over here where I can add my axis labels through that. Or I can go over to my little plus here, my Add Chart Elements, and just click Axis Titles. I now have little text boxes here, and I can fill in whatever I want there. So in this case, I have population. Over on my y-axis, remember I have my mean and my standard error graphed on here. So this is not the mean population value. Instead, this is just population number. So this would be the number in the population. You could do individuals, you could do count, you could do population estimate, whatever you want, but not average or mean population because it has the error bars in there. We're mostly done. We are missing potentially two things. One thing we are missing is a figure caption. You could have dragged the title down to the bottom here, but there isn't really enough room to have a full caption. So what you're probably going to need to do is either type your caption in the area below here and then take a picture, or move it to, say, Word and use Word to type your caption underneath. So you have to add your text caption somehow underneath this in some way, shape, or form. The other thing you might want to do is, let's say you wanted to indicate that one of these bars has particular meaning. So we want to point out something related to D. What we can do is click on that error bar. It highlights everybody, or sorry, that error bar. Click on it again, and now we've selected just that one data point. So what I can do is go over here, and I can do a pattern fill on that one. And then I can select, say, that, and now it's going to stand out from everything else. Remember, one of the things I point out is that you may want to use pattern fills rather than changing colors in case you print it out in black and white. In the same way, if you're going to print it out particularly in black and white, make sure that the color of your bar is not so dark that when you print it out you won't be able to see the error bar. Make sure it's light enough that you'll be able to see the error bar extending down into there. So that would not be a good choice. If you want to make it a different color, go with something that's even lighter. Oops, changed them all because I didn't have it selected for just the one, but making it lighter, you can see the error bar there.